Hello. Today I'm letting you into a little secret that I call wide and deep Instagram strategies, aka how to align your Instagram strategy to your business goals, and also aka why you don't necessarily need more Instagram followers. So I'm Jessica Goodenough. I help vegan businesses and ethical entrepreneurs grow their influence, impact, and income with Instagram. This is episode 15 of the Jessica Goodenough Podcast, a podcast where I chat about all things mindset and marketing. Thank you for joining me. So if you're new here, hello. And if you're back, hello as well. Today, I'm kind of letting you in to what is the first step of my Shine Online process, the process that I help ethical entrepreneurs and vegan business owners with their Instagram with. Does that make sense? That sentence was going somewhere. Anyway, and essentially the idea is to establish social media goals that go with their business goals. And so I tried this with my Instagram account, and this is why I'm not worried about having, quote unquote, only 1,000 followers, because they're 1,000 real people. But I'll get into that in a minute. So essentially, today I will be discussing going wide and going deep with the Instagram strategy. And first I was just going to add a little parenthesis to how I came up with these terms or where this thinking came from. And before I forget, all the show notes are available at jessicagoodenough.com/episode 15. If you're watching this on YouTube, everything will be in the description down below. So hi, whether you're watching on YouTube, or hi, whether you're listening on the podcast. But this whole wide, deep thing, I put in a weird way, came from a video game that I play. So if you are watching on YouTube, comment down below and tell me if you've ever played Civilization. If you haven't, it doesn't matter. But in Civilization, you can essentially play two main strategies, which are wide and tall, not deep. But wide involves building lots of cities and building your empire that way. And tall involves building a few cities, but building their population up and building your empire that way. Anyway, the parenthesis is irrelevant to Instagram, really. But it kind of playing the game and working my Instagram strategy as in a similar time frame, it made me think that there's two main strategies that we can follow, well, two large strategies that we can follow with Instagram, which are going wide and going deep. So today I'm going to talk about three things, which is why go wide or go deep, what to measure when going wide and deep, and what kind of content to share if you're going wide or if you're going deep. So a quick overview of what this actually is, wide and deep. Going wide is essentially an overall strategy of trying to reach more people, whereas going deep is trying to develop more meaningful relationships through Instagram. So that'd be fewer people, but going deeper. And if you listen to the podcast, you can't see me waving my hands around, but you get the idea. And going wide is possibly a slightly shallower relationship, but reaching more people. And also this is a spectrum, of course. It's not all white or all black, but all wide or all deep. You can kind of find yourself somewhere in the middle or prioritizing one or the other. What I'm going to start off with is why go wide or deep? Why prioritize going wide or going deep? And basically is you can't do everything all the time. So I like to pick one main strategy each month, depending on what I'm working on in my business. So for example, right now I'm going deep, and I'll explain that in a second. So why go wide? The main reason that you'd want to go wide is because you're selling products that are lower cost or that don't need a one-on-one touch point. So, for example, if you're promoting a book that you've written, or clothes, or food, or that kind of thing, ideally you'd reach a lot of people. You don't need to have a long one-on-one chat with people in the DMs to sell a book that's £12 or whatever on Amazon. But you do need to reach lots of people to sell your book for it to be a bestseller or whatever. So that would be a good time to go wide if you're promoting, I don't want to say impersonal because that's a bit unfair, but products that don't need that kind of nurturing as much. If you are trying to promote another platform, so for example YouTube, you'd probably want to go wide. So you could say you're trying to grow your YouTube, you've got a YouTube channel about vegan recipes, and you want to use Instagram and YouTube together, and you're starting to make a bit of money on YouTube, or you want to make money on YouTube, and you have to reach those 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. Anyway, you could post snippets on your Instagram of the YouTube videos. You could make reels out of some of the content, or inspired by some of the content that's on your YouTube, that kind of thing. And then say, if you want to see the rest of it, follow me on YouTube, go to the link in my bio, and then follow my YouTube channel, or mention the name of your YouTube channel or whatever. And that would be a reason to go wide, because again, you don't need to get into these involved one-on-one conversations, well, hopefully involved one-on-one conversations with people to encourage them to follow you on YouTube. They can think, ooh, I like that kind of snapshot of that person's recipe. So like you could do a reel where it's like a really accelerated thing, and then say, go follow me on YouTube to see the breakdown of the ingredients and the different steps. I don't know. So that would be a second reason. And a third reason would be for going wide, would be to try and establish yourself as an expert in a certain topic. So in this case kind of only, it makes sense to have more followers. So it looks better if you've got 200,000 followers than if you've got 200 followers. However, this is kind of a slippery slope, and we have to be a bit careful with what they call vanity metrics, which are just things that we measure that look good. So yes, it does look good to have 200,000 followers. But then what I'd encourage you to think about is, what goals does that actually tie you to? I mean, if you're using Instagram for fun, just go ahead, do whatever you want to do. But if your goal is to make money on YouTube or whatever, or to make certain sponsorship, essentially what I'm saying is that you need some kind of goal that makes sense for you to then have the followers as a goal. Just having more followers won't lead you to more income, probably won't even lead you to more impact. If your goal is to have 200,000 followers because you're trying to raise money for a certain cause, then your goal is the amount of money you're raising for that cause. If your goal is to have a certain amount of followers so you can start doing sponsored posts or whatever, then your goal is to make that amount of money with sponsored posts, or to have a certain amount of sponsored posts or whatever. But just having a certain amount of followers isn't a kind of a business goal. Just putting that out there. That's my little rant over. So those are the three reasons why you'd want to go wide. So you're selling products that don't really need a high touch point with the customer. You're trying to promote another platform such as YouTube or a podcast, for example, and you're trying to establish yourself as an expert in your niche. Now, why you would go deep is the opposite, obviously, is that you're trying to sell one-on-one services or like higher ticket group programs. So that's why, for example, I'm not worried right now about having more followers, because currently I am going to create a course later on in the year, but currently I'm taking on one-on-one clients and I have 1,000 followers. I've got enough of my ideal clients in those followers. I don't need to get another 100,000 followers. I need to nurture the followers I already do have. So that involves conversations in the DMs and that kind of thing. And similarly, if you were selling really expensive things, what am I thinking of? Like if you're selling properties or something, you don't need trillions of followers that can't afford your properties. It's better to nurture people who are already following you, who have the resources to do that. Anyway, I don't know much about selling property, so I'll move on from that. But another reason that you want to go deep is to engage with like-minded people, that you want to have conversations on Instagram, and Instagram's a really good place to do that. And I believe the best platform, but I'm biased, but a social media platform to do that, to get into one-on-one conversations with either, I don't like the word competitors, but like people who are doing similar things than you are, potential collaborators. That's why I really like the Instagram lives. Like, it's a really good place to foster those connections. What I'd be mindful of is, why are you doing that? And I'm not saying that everything needs a goal, but it might be worth having to think about why you're doing that. If you're spending a lot of time on doing this, on nurturing those relationships, what the end goal is in terms of your business. So just putting that out there. So the reasons to go deep are selling one-on-one services or high-ticket group programs, and trying to engage and build relationships with like-minded people. So essentially, yes, the moral of the story is tie which strategy you're choosing or favouring, because you still want to do a bit of both, but which strategy you're really favouring to your business and sales goals. And I can help you do this in my Shine Online process. I'm just going to quickly talk about that now and then move on to part 2, which is what to measure. So my Shine Online process, I offer 4 things, which sounds a bit complicated, but it's mainly 2 big things. I do one-on-one strategy sessions to help you with your Instagram strategy, and we'd start very much with this. This is the beginning of it all, because there's no point creating content that serves no purpose, or that creating content to create content. It's all about what your goals are, and then we create the content around that. So the first thing that I offer is one-on-one strategy sessions, 90 minutes, and I'm like clicking my fingers, we'll get the show on the road for your Instagram. So that's one thing. But then I also offer more traditional, and that's if you want, so we'll do this strategy session together, but then you go and create your content and engage with your audience. So that's kind of the DIY, but with a bit of a strategy solution. And then I'd offer a more traditional, let's say, social media management services. And there's 3 different types here. So it's either, in all cases, we'd do the strategy session as well, because I'm not going to offer to do your Instagram strategy, your Instagram management in a way that I think doesn't make sense. So we do the Instagram strategy in any case, but there's, I would create your content for you. So I'd create your content for the month. I generally try to let's aim for 3 months, so we can improve month on month and start to see what really works. So either I'd do the strategy and the content, or I'd do the strategy and the engagement. So content is creating posts, maybe creating reels, depending on what we've got, etc. Engagement would be if you need someone, if you're just like have got a lot on your plate and you want someone to do replying to the comments, maybe replying to your DMs, that kind of thing. I can see this, for example, if you were, say, if you're not, but if you owned a vegan restaurant and you're just on your feet all day and you need someone to reply to all of those, that's part like vegan. So that's the engagement. So I'm getting confused myself. And then the third type of social media management is doing both. So I'd schedule the content and I'd do the engagement for you. Right. So that's my services, and they would all start with aligning the social media goals with your business goals. Anyway, moving on to what to measure when going wide and deep, because it's all very nice and good, like having a strategy, but you also need to measure. What gets measured gets managed. So this again, you might not like this, but it depends on your goals. So I'm just going to give an overview, but I can't say like if you go wide, this is what you measure, and if you go deep, this is what you measure. But I'm just going to give you a bit of an idea. Today's a bit of a shorter episode, but it's giving you a bit of an insight into the logic behind having an Instagram strategy. It's not just post every day and then hope for the best. There's a bit of a logic to what you have to do and strategy. So if you're going wide, you essentially want metrics related to reach. And all of your metrics, if you have a business account on Instagram, which is very important. If you remember one thing from today, it's get a business account. It's very easy. It's free. Just Google how to create Instagram business account. You can use your personal account and turn it into a business account. It's very easy. It's simple. But this is not the objective of this podcast right now. But you get your insights on the mobile app, and which is a bit of a problem. I wish we could have them on the desktop, but anyway. The metrics related to reach are the ones that are important if you want to go wide. So if you want kind of an overview number, you can actually see the number of accounts you've reached, and you can break it down. I'd recommend doing it monthly rather than like every day or something. That'd be silly. You could do it weekly if you really wanted to, but I think monthly is good to have a big enough picture to look at. So accounts reached. These are examples of things you could track. Accounts reached, you'll be given an overall number, and then clicks to your website. So say this would be important if in your bio, if you were selling a book, for example, I've just connected recently with someone I've been following for so long, so I'm super excited. I'm going to show you actually, if you're watching on YouTube, Matt Fraser, who has the No Meat Athlete radio podcast, which I actually linked to in the show notes. I haven't mentioned the show notes much today, which is good because that means I don't need to put many things in. But if you want to get them, by the way, they're at jessicagoodenough.com/episode 15. Anyway, he has a podcast called No Meat Athlete that I've been listening to for ages, and he started following me on Instagram. And he's recently published a book, which isn't the one I've just shown you. It's downstairs, his new book, called The Plant-Based Athlete, I think. I had a total blip there. Anyway, yes, I think that's right. And it was a New York Times bestseller, blah, blah, blah. I've actually checked No Meat Athlete's Instagram to see if this was the case, but it would be smart while you're promoting a book, for example, even if it was an ebook of your recipes. It doesn't have to be a New York Times bestseller, but let's say you're promoting a book, whether it's an ebook of your recipes or a book that's like really making it big. While you're promoting it, you'd have the link in your bio, maybe link to other things as well. Like, I don't necessarily recommend Linktree, but you could have a page on your website that functions a bit like Linktree, where essentially you click on the link in your bio and it takes you to maximum about 5 things. So maybe one would be check out my YouTube channel, etc. So little buttons, if you can imagine. And one of them would be buy my book. And then you could measure, it'd be important or helpful for you to measure if your clicks to that website are going up, and you could even narrow it down to clicks to that button, or you could just link straight to your book, whatever. Anyway, clicks to your website would be an important metric in this case to measure if that's what you were trying to sell. So that's kind of wide, looking at the amount of accounts you've reached and maybe the clicks to your website as examples of metrics that you could measure. So I'm going to have a drink of water. I've got rid of, I was going to say a ticky cough, but you're not allowed to say that these days because people are going to avoid me now. I don't think I've got COVID. Anyway. And then deep, it also depends on what you're trying to do. But you want to look at metrics related to engagement. So there is an overall content interactions metric on Instagram, which is an overview of all the interactions with your content. So that would be comments, saves, likes, and shares, I believe. And what I like to track, which you can't get an overview number from Instagram, so you just have to count them, is your conversations in the DMs. Because for, say, if you are, I'm going to continue in the health kind of world, if you're a running coach and you offer one-on-one running nutrition and running programs, but they're maybe, I'm just making this up, £600 for 3 months, I don't know. People will probably want to ask you questions and that kind of thing, before they sign up. And that would happen in the DMs. And even if people don't sign up that you have conversations with, your DMs is where a lot of this kind of thing will happen. So that's slightly more important. So those are examples of things you can measure for wide. You want to measure things related to reach. And so an example of that is the number of accounts you've reached. That's a broad like the number overall of accounts you've reached during that month. And for deep, you want to measure things related to engagement, so that's content interactions. But this all depends on how you're selling. So if you're selling in the DMs, then the DMs are important. If you're not, you're not. Anyway, there's more. Get a bit confused here. There's more granular metrics that we could look at in the Shine Online monthly report. So I either create it for social media management clients, so I'd create the report, and I like to make it all pretty anyway, but I'd look at certain things that are in the insights from Instagram that would help us see what's performing well and what's not, what to do more of next month, if what we tried worked or didn't work. But similarly, if you just did the Shine Online strategy session, I'd give you the template. So it's a Google Sheet, with like the things to look for, and it says where to find them in your insights. And so that would be slightly more granular metrics than the overall content interactions and accounts reached numbers. So before I move on to number 3, which is what kind of content to share depending on what strategy you're doing, I'd like to say if this has been helpful so far, please subscribe, whether that's to my podcast, wherever you're listening to it, or to my YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube. That would be very helpful for me. So what kind of content to share if you are focusing more on wide or more on deep? As I said before, it's neither black or white, it's kind of a spectrum. So I'd try a combination of the two. So what I do personally right now is that I have twice as many deep posts compared to wide posts. And I'm using the word post quite generally because I'm including IGTVs, reels, lives, anything that's on my feed in that category right now. But anyway, so I'd say there's few cases where you want to go entirely deep or entirely wide, unless maybe if you have a very large audience already and you know that your ideal client is in it and you're only offering, say, 3 coaching spots or whatever, then you don't need to keep reaching more people. You just need to nurture the people that you already have. That might be an example. Or, yeah, if you're trying to sell something like a book, you might not need to use many of the deep strategies, but I'd say a combination of the two is probably best, but you want to prioritize one over the other. So anyway, in terms of going wide, things like reels are really big right now, and have been for a while. It's Instagram's newest feature, and they push out their new features more than others. So it's just a question of doing the reels. For example, my latest reel, I have 1,050 followers on Instagram currently, and my latest reel got 2,800 something views. I'm not particularly proud of that reel, actually. It wasn't all that fantastic, but the fact that it gets that kind of reach is pretty good. Things like shareable quotes. There's some, and I'm not saying this is necessarily the way to go, just doing this, but some accounts on Instagram are just shareable quotes, and they're huge. And they're huge because people like those quotes, and then they reshare them, and then other people see it in those people's stories, and then they follow the account. Anyway, it snowballs. So I've actually done a Instagram post about what kind of things to do if you are going wide. I'll link to that in the show notes. You can also find it on my Instagram when you follow me at JL Goodenough. I'll link to it in the show notes, jessicagoodenough.com/episode 15. Sorry, I am getting a little bit dizzy because I've painted my nails in a small room and I've been a bit unwell this weekend, and I'm wondering if it's going back. So if I faint halfway through this, hopefully I'll stop the episode. Anyway, so yes, I have done an Instagram post about that with some of the strategies or tactics if you want to go wide. Going deep it's all about creating those connections with the people who are following you or who find you. So, for example, using comment, like asking people to comment as the call to action on your posts is very important, and starting those conversations. So there's lots of different ways of doing that. You could also, in your Instagram stories, there's stickers. So they're the bits that you add to your stories. So like when you do a poll, or when you say like, ask me anything, like those question stickers, then when people vote in your poll or ask you things, or just like you can see on each story how people have interacted, following up with those people and just starting those conversations in a very organic way, where you're not just like, buy my stuff, but just having those conversations. That's what I'd do on a more deep kind of strategy. So that's more where I'm at right now personally. And then when I launch my course, I might be going wide, or more wide, let's say. So I will be doing, similarly to how I did the wide one, an Instagram carousel with the different strategies to go deep soon. Soon, later this month actually, not that soon. But make sure you follow me on Instagram to get that, which, if you don't know already, is at JL Goodenough. And that's it for today. So that was kind of a snapshot of what deep and wide means for me, and what that means for you and your business. So if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, as I said, either on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, as they call it now, wherever you listen to your podcasts, or on YouTube. If you're watching, that would be super helpful. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give this video a like. What would also really help, and then we can connect in the DMs, is if you share a screenshot, and I'll probably reshare it as well, share a screenshot of this podcast on your Instagram stories. I'm actually a dinosaur. I don't have it here, but I'm probably one of the only people in the world still that listens to podcasts on their iPod, so I can't do this. But if you listen on your phone, please take a screenshot and share it. I would really appreciate that. That helps other people to find the podcast. And today's journaling prompt, which as always is my friend Lindsay's idea, hi Lindsay, is, what would an Instagram strategy that helps me towards my business goals look like? So I'll say that again. What would an Instagram strategy that helps me towards my business goals look like? So if you take a pen and paper, do maybe a bit of a drawing. I like to, do kind of mind map a bit. If you need help with your Instagram strategy, I would be delighted to help, as long as you don't go against, if you're not a butcher's or a leather making company, I would be delighted to help you with that. And so if you are interested in help, my website is currently being getting a facelift. So what you could do is reach out to me at JL Goodenough on Instagram and just say help. Send me a DM and say help. I need help with my Instagram. I don't really know what it is that I need help with, but I need help. And we can pop on a call and talk about it. No pressure. I love helping people with their businesses, especially if it's helping the vegan cause or just helping in general. Helping the world. Anyway, I'll stop saying nonsense on my nail polish high right now and let you have a beautiful day. Right. Bye.